Alright guys, we're here with Tuesday night's five-time champion, Tweety. So Tweety, why did you play Dragon again?
Okay, so, I first this is kind of a retarded story. I thought that the tournament today was going to be for the next format, and so I was totally prepared for the next format. And when I asked my round one opponent or something, I think I asked them like, "Are you ready?" Blah blah blah, and I see everyone else like hosting in Advanced Unlimited or whatever. So I'm thinking like, why is everyone there when there's like, are they not playing band cards? There's no Glow Up Bulb, Raigeki. So I asked, and it's like, yeah, it's not not the new format. So I switched to Dragons, which I think is the most powerful deck. It's not the most consistent, but it's the most powerful. Makes the best fields. So I decided to play that. And Soul Charge was at 3, so I just couldn't have the opportunity to not play a deck that could abuse it. So that's why I ran Dragons again.
All right. Well, there are a few talking points, and like we said, pre-interview, we've been here, we've done that, we've heard your explanations of Dragons before, so we're just going to kind of talk through a few things. But I guess let's get started with the question that I have, and it's concerning Dragon Shrine and trade-in. And because you will be resolving Shrine, and you really want to resolve Shrine, what were your thoughts on running 3 trade-in when there was a big potential for it to be dead at times?
Okay, well, with this, this deck doesn't. I don't know how I wanna answer this question. This is a good question. I just want to maximize the ability to lose the blue eyes that I draw if I draw it, and with the ability to just shrine and then make the trade in live because of sending Flamvell Guard, Whitestone, add blue eyes to hand. I can do that. Only having 4 targets was kind of weird though, because sometimes it was dead, and sometimes I didn't want to discard Mythic Water because of the fact that I needed it to make Felgrin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Trade-in Shrine was a pretty good tonight. Just seeing the cards is what I want to do, because I think Trade-in at the end of the day is better than Card of Consonance, so I would rather max out on a card that can get me out of the early game, which is what I basically wanted to do.
For sure, and Cards of Consonance makes you pitch your tuners, and that's something you don't really want to do.
Yeah, that's something I never really want to do.
Okay.
But when I have an extra tuner in hand, or if I don't need the tuner, then it definitely gets me there.
Oh, for sure. So, a couple of card quantities we can touch on. I'm looking at the main deck and I see the Lone MST, and I see the double Upstart Goblin. I got to hear about that.
Yeah. So, I'll just go through like a lot of things in this deck. I'll get to all these cards, but I'll just go in order since we're on monsters, I guess. First is like this 2 blue eyes, 1 Whitestone, and I just don't want to see. I want to see the tuner, but I don't want to see it that often. Like, I feel like I can get myself to the blue eyes or whatever, and like I can bring the Whitestone back. So then I have to resolve the Whitestone again if I use it, which makes it just makes it okay. It's just like if I use the card for a synchro, I add the blue eyes. Then if I bring it back like Debris or Soul Charge and use it again, then I don't have to have my opponent check my deck to verify, which is another thing. And then moving on, we got this Kawakimera Drago. It's pretty much just searchable. Like, I'm not gonna need it in every matchup. But when I do need it, then I can kind of just grab it. It's not like that accessible. Like if I don't have like Shrine or Dragon to banish for Tempest, then I obviously can't get to Draco. But it's still pretty much a searchable card, just like any of the other targets for the Dragon Rulers.
Well, let me just throw it out there that I guess you kind of answered one of Fresh's questions, which was, and I'm guessing he feels there's a lot more value in the Drago play, and he just simply asked why only 1 versus maybe main 2 or 3.
Well, well, with that, I just some this format was kind of weird. I mean, it was like you want to see the card, and then you don't need to see the card. Like your extra deck has a lot of light monsters too, and there's like a lot of times where you can get to the Draco or the Drago, and then you can put it on field, and then there's sometimes where like you have it and you don't want it there, or you basically are waiting for it to be removed because now you can make a play around that. Like you can't do Spark. Like if you summon Draco or if you have Draco, it's you should normal summon first of all, which is good and bad. Like it's a huge normal summon, but it can't like it's not like a tuner where it can get you to a synchro, it can get you to like another play. So it just kind of sits there, and then like if you can't keep pressing, then it just becomes like this monster that's just like, well, I have a 1900 beater, but I can't make Felgrin, Heliopolis, I'll say Azurize, Spark Dragon. You can't make any of those. I'm not saying like the other synchros can't be accessible or they're not important, but I feel like Felgrin stuff, cards like Felgrin and stuff and Spark are pretty important, like in the deck. So I only wanted one because I only needed it versus Burn Abyss and Shadows. And Stellar Knights is kind of iffy to me. Like it just kind of gets DP'd if you don't have the decree, and it just kind of sits there, and they can overlay into other stuff. Like they don't have to make a light or a dark. They can just make Castell and then it returns it to the deck, and then it's searchable again. So that's another reason. Moving on, Maxi. This is an interesting card to me right now. I think it's better moving on to this next format, but for this format, Maxi is more like a response card. Like you don't do it when you have a play out of it. Like you use it to increase to like put lots of pressure on your opponent. It doesn't have to be just they're special summoning, so I should Maxi. It's more like if they're special summoning and they're going to break or if they're going to make a field that could be unbreakable or make a field that's really tough to beat, then you want to Maxi that because then you force them in a position where if you keep drawing cards, then you'll have the out, and if you already have a field and they are trying to beat your field, then you Maxi them too, because then now they have to use as little cards as possible to try to beat your field, and if they can't, then you just win the next turn anyways. So it's more like, well, I gotcha. Oh, I gotcha again. I don't know if that came out correctly, but we're just gonna move on. Maxi's a cool card. We all know what it does.
Well, we can't say that it was pretty. How do you say? It made its mark in the third game of the final match for sure.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It definitely got me where I wanted to get to because when I maxied and then I had already had Flying Sea in hand, but when I maxied, I was thinking, well, he's just gonna. The only reason I maxied and I didn't just Flying Sea is because if I would have Flying Seed and just didn't, if I didn't maxi, then he just could have like kept going. And the reason why I Flying Seed is because I saw that he special summoned another Stygian, and Stygian's attack is only 16, so he couldn't clear Drago. So I didn't want him to like overlay and clear it or whatever. And then he like compulsed it, and then I just kept drawing cards, and it just got out of hand for him because I was drawing cards, but my hand was pretty bad. Like if I couldn't keep the Draco and he had just like been able to clear it, and then I lost, then that would have been it for me. I couldn't have like recovered without drawing all those cards actually. So thank you, Maxi. Thank you, Maxi.
So go ahead and get on to that upstart.
This upstart, okay.
I think when we look at the spells, other than the MST, that's the only real talking point. Everything else seems kind of generic and expected.
I didn't really want to cut anything for the third Maxi. I mean, I could have cut like the obvious card that you don't want to draw, which is Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is it's weird. Like that ratio, the ratio that I'm playing in this deck is like really weird to some people that play dragons or think that they can play dragons, because I know I can play dragons, but that's another story. The upstart though, 2,000 life points, giving them 2,000. That was another thing. This deck, let's say there was time in the tournament, which I mean there wasn't, but this deck in time is like the worst thing ever. It's like the greatest and the worst thing ever. You can have so much advantage and lose because you're in time and you just had this like soul charge or make these huge fields, and even though you put so much damage on board, like every 1,000 damage is a lot actually for this deck. Like there's a lot of like scenarios where you need to game them that turn where you can't just give them another turn. And I mean, I guess 2 upstart play didn't factor that. And it's just like I didn't want to cut anything for a 3rd upstart. I didn't feel the need to cut anything. I thought that having the extra dragon for Whitestone was important if I was playing 3 trade in. I didn't want to play 2. I didn't want to play 3 targets and 3 trade in.
Yeah.
And like have these 2 dead cards half the time because one I was obviously going to use for Mythic, and then I was going to make 1 trade in dead the entire time. And then if I had to do it again, then it was going to make it dead again. So, you know. And then this MST. This is the best card of the deck. Next to Maxi, I guess. This is just to out emptiness game 1 if I didn't have Decree, really. It was like, if I need to, or if they only had 1 back row and I need to get like Draco through or something, if I need to get any play through and I had MST, then you know it was there. Versus Urine in the 2nd round or whatever. He was playing this macro D-Fissure Gravekeeper Servant.
Oh yeah.
Can't attack deck, and the entire time I'm thinking, man, all I have to do is draw MST game 1, and I drew the MST game 1, and it helped me win the game. I didn't have to use our resources and try to make a Draco to pop and then lose a whole bunch of cards in my attempt to come back. All I had to do was draw the Korean MST, and you know, it got me there. And Out in Emptiness is always just so good game 1. Like being able to out that card, because it's annoying for this deck.
All right, and since we know that you're a big fan of the Royal Decree, why don't you go ahead and give it a second and talk about it?
Yeah, there's too many traps out there. I want all my plays to go through. And plus, this deck is broken with Decree. Like, the ability to just Decree and then Black Rose, or like the ability to like Decree and make Heliopolis and then just know that it's safe. And it's just so many combination of cards in this deck that like make Decree so much better. Like, if you can do everything with Decree, like Stardust protects Decree, Spark protects Decree too. Like I said, Helio, you can Excite a Knight under Decree. Like, it just allows every play that you need to go through to really go through. And versus decks like Stellar Knights and decks like Burning Abyss, you don't want to keep getting Phoenix Winged, and it just helps you not lose to that matchup. Like Burning Abyss that's a struggle to play through. It's just too good of a deck for Dragons, definitely. Let's see what else to talk about. What's the side deck?
I guess we can go on to the side deck.
I mean, we got Flying Sea. I think it's a card that you don't really see in Dragons. I just think that the card's so good where it just stops them. Like, it just makes them where they can't do anything. And you can sit on a Flamethrower Guard or like the Brute Dragon and just sit there. Like, there's no monster in the game that can just clear it if they don't tribute summon it. If they don't tribute summon over it, like, and then they'll tribute this card, so you know, whatever. But if they have just regular monsters, no regular monster in the game right now that everyone plays in the meta is just gonna simply attack over 2,000 defense. So Flying Sea is it just helps me get there. It helps you.
Well, I think we can talk about the deck. Like as you look at it and you see the triple Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, triple Light Imprisoning Mirror, the double Skill Drain, the double MST, double Drago, triple Flying Sea. I think the side deck is very, very easy to understand. It's very concise and very direct and to the point. Like, you had a very clear idea of what you wanted it to affect, and it seems like it paid off.
Yeah. I think Fresh wanted to know why I wasn't maining the Skill Drain and why I was siding it, and it's pretty simple. Like, Skill Drain doesn't really Skill Drain in this format to me doesn't do as much as what people think. Like, it yeah, it stops an effect, blah blah blah. It lets your rulers stay face up longer than they're supposed to, and et cetera, et cetera. And like Stardust Drain was like a win condition usually, versus a lot of decks. But decks can just simply just, if you have skill drain, then that means you have to have traps. Like you have to have more real traps to back up, because for one, Burn the Abyss and Shadows can kind of float under skill drain. Like they activate Shadow Fusion, right? Yeah, they make their monster. If you can attack over, or blow up their card, they'll just get back Shadow Fusion. They can do it again. Plus, all their shadow effects happen in graveyard that they're going to trigger, so they can just pop skill drain whenever they want to if you don't have Stardust. And versus Burn the Abyss, all their monsters float. They can make Dante not mill any cards, or I think it's a cost, so they can still mill cards, and then they can activate the effect from the grave. And then 2,500 Stardust can't kill unless I make something else, so it's not that good. Plus, if I don't play Decree and I play Skill Drain, then I have to deal with their traps, which just wrecked me, so it's not really that good to play Drain. Plus, Drain is more so fit for Stellar Knights, because they can't do anything if they can't activate their effects, but every other deck seems to be able to float under it better, so that's why I only sided Drain. I didn't mean it.
Alright, well, the last things that we can talk about in specific would be a few of the extra deck choices. I think Thought Ruler Arcfiend is interesting. I think Red Hot Dragon Arcfiend is interesting. And I also think that Alsay is interesting. Why don't you give us a little, some talking points on each of those 3 cards?
Okay, here we go. Thought Ruler Arcfiend. This card is just so amazing. It does everything that I wanted to. This card has existed for so long, and like so many dragons do not play this card, and it's just like, why would you not want to turn back on Soul Charge? It turns back on Soul Charge. That's like the first thing I would tell anyone that doesn't play Thought Ruler. Like, do you want your last Soul Charge to be turned back on again? Well, you can play Thought Ruler. If you can attack over a monster with like 2,000 attack, whatever, and just do whatever. The second thing is that it can't be targeted by spell traps, basically. Like, they activate a trap or a spell that targets it, you can pay 1,000 life points to negate it, and he still keeps attacking. You can't do any of that. And I know you pay 1,000, which kind of seems like a lot because you pay Soul Charge, but when you think about it, he can just start attacking over things. Like versus Stellar Knights, they can't DP him because he doesn't target. So you just start attacking over things, gaining life points. If you play versus Burn Abyss, he's like the one monster that you can summon that they can't stop. They can't Phoenix Wing him. They have to make Acid Golem over him, and it just does a lot for you right there. Hot Red Dragon. In the finals, I wanted to make this card so bad, but he had Barrier, and I couldn't because its effect can only be activated in main phase 1, which kind of sucks to me. Which
it keeps it a little reined in.
Could have resolved that card in the finals in the last game. Then it would have just immediately let me keep everything else, and I wouldn't have had to do anything. I could have kept Soul Charge. I could have Soul Charge after. So, I had too little life points. It wouldn't have been able to do it. But
yeah,
it just lets you blow up all face up attack. Now the thing about it is you can blow up your own monsters in the process of this. So
Oh sure, yeah.
Obviously, you have to play correctly, but it clears. It does what Scrap Dragon wants to do, which is clear full boards of monsters without having he's good under Soul Charge. That's his goal. You make him under Soul Charge, you special summon a Tuner and Redox, special summon Water, blow up their field and overlay, and then pretty much set under Soul Charge. And plus he's huge. He's 3,000 attack. That's huge. So mega. So. What else? I'll say. See, this card is interesting to me. I decided to place this card in at the last minute. I was playing the Gimmick Puppet Grinder, which could have again did a lot that last game. But the thing about Grinder that I'm starting to not like is that it's only the game shot, and if you can't do game, then you might as well make something else. And I'll say it's the Phoenix Wind Blast monster. You can put at the top or the bottom. You could basically give them a bad hand so you can kill them the next turn. He has huge defense. Um, if you call like if you're in a position where if you call that card correctly, you win the game. Like if you need burial from a different dimension, you can just keep calling burial from a different dimension. If you mill it, you add it to your hand. You can bounce, then you can play burial, and it just does so much. So the card's pretty good. Happy I placed it in at the last minute. So
Okay, well then
yeah.
that's a nice talk through of the entire deck. How about the night? Any games in specific you want to talk about?
Yes, I want to talk about this entire tournament. Let's see. I played Bellador, who was playing. What was he? He was playing um, Rafa dot deck. He was playing Dark Worlds. I was so sad already. Like round one or whatever. Yeah, I did not want to play against that deck. I did not want to play it against it at all. I was like, if this dude sacks me, I'm gonna cry. I don't want to. I didn't want this to be round one, but I win. So I was happy. So we moved on. That's all I gotta say about that deck. So we move on and we play against Macrocosmos D Fissure. Can't attack this thing deck. I didn't know what it was. I just know that if I drew Decree and MSTs, then I didn't have to deal with whatever their deck did, and I won. And I was happy because I didn't want to lose to someone main deck Macrocosmos that opened it up both games.
Ouch.
And I was like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that to me. Can I just open up MST? That's all I wanted. And I drew it eventually, but moving on, we have Light that was playing Shadows. Now, there's a lot to say about this kid. This kid played pretty well. I was pretty happy to play against him. He didn't misplay. I think that I don't know if he was playing Breakthrough Skill or not, because like these Veilers were so weird. Like I saw him play against he played against Arrow, and he Veilered, and then he had another Veiler, and he was playing like these cute cards like Destruct Potion to gain life points and stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't want to play against like these cards where I have to keep attacking, I can't do anything. Like but yeah, he played Shadows pretty well. I was sorry about his DC that occurred for a long period of time. But yeah, he played well. Game 2, I just like to tell him that I did have game. I revealed that I had game to the people that were still watching. I had Fiend Swing in my hand, and I was going to discard MST to bounce the 101, and then summon Redox and attack you directly for the other two. So after I bounced with, I'll say, the White Wyvern Ivory card. So I did have game, so moving on. The finals. We have my old teammate AOH Dark, Master Dan. Dan, congrats making it that far. You're playing the deck that I do not like at all, which is Infernities. I'm pretty happy that I beat you. Happy that you let me draw those cards off of Max D, as shown in the video. I did, however, feel that you didn't have to do that. Like I didn't know your goal at that time. Like I thought that you had exact game when you kept going, and then when I added up on my phone. Wait, I added up on my phone actually before your turn, before you entered battle phase, and before you even made Dweller, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna die, so instead of just saying GG, I quit, blah blah blah, you win, I'm mad at you. I just sat there and I drew pretty good near the end of the maxi. Actually, if you would have stopped, I think halfway through that maxi, you probably would have won if you would have just made Dweller and had one of the cards, but I did win. I was pretty happy about it. Shout outs to Light. I think that was my hardest match. Because that deck is weird to me. Like, shout outs should be the easiest match, but the thing is, my hand was kind of weird when you beat me or whatever in game 1. And I was making it good. It was a good match. I told you it wasn't close because I was supposed to win, and I think I misplayed. I'll rewatch it and blah blah blah. Tell you how, but I think I was supposed to immediately win, depending on my hand, and then I didn't win, and I was pretty sad because I thought I had game next turn. Which, if you didn't kill me, I did have game next turn, which sucks. But life happens. I don't think there's. You guys have anything else for me?
I think that's about it. Talked about the
it.
deck, all the integral pieces. We talked about the rounds you played through. So I think that's pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I wondered what Mr. I'm happy to see that Mr. Clown played in the tournament tonight. Shout out to Mr. Clown, the guy that plays the best decks next to me. Shout outs to Fresh for laughing at me playing Dragons again. And shout outs to my opponents. It was pretty tough. Pretty tough night. I think this was one of the best tournaments to end the format on. Shout outs to Yif and Adan for being there for me at all times. And yeah, thanks people.
Yeah, I also think it was kind of like fitting that Infernity made it to the finals on the last day of the format.
I thought that was cute. I thought that was cute too. I was like,
yeah,
oh, Infernity's in the finals, just like bro. So.
Saying goodbye.
Saying goodbye.
And on that note, we will say goodbye. Guys, I want to thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.